Hi everyone, how are you? I hope you all are doing great and welcome back again to EduPortal. So in today's discussion, we will be discussing on some important points and important codal provisions from IS 456 2000, that is Plain and Reinforced Concrete Code of Practice. Okay, so as we know, IS 456 is one of the most important book, that is Indian Standard Code, and all the civil engineers must study this. I hope you all have already studied this. So in this video we will quickly revise some important points, tables and charts for exam points of view. Okay, now in IS 456 a lot of charts are there. Okay, a lot of tables, a lot of charts, a lot of codal provisions are there, but among them certain codal provisions have been directly asked in previous year's exam. Okay, now if you analyze previous year's question, you will see that directly codal provisions they are asking. Okay, so if you know those provisions, if you know those data, if you can memorize those charts, then you can answer those questions within 2 to 5 seconds. Okay, but if you cannot remember those data or if you don't know those codal provisions, you cannot answer those questions. Okay, and these are very important because direct codal provisions they are asking, and if you cannot answer those questions correctly, then it will be difficult for you to score good marks. Okay, so now most important thing is which data, which table, which charts we need to memorize. Okay, so for that I have made a list, and in this video I am going to show those charts and those lists or those codal provisions that we need to memorize for exam points of view. Okay, so let's move on to today's discussion and see what are those codal provisions. Okay, so let's get started. So here we will see some previous year's questions which have been asked from IS codes directly. So first one is the percentage of HYSD bars in one-way slab to cater for shrinkage or temperature as per IS 456. Here the answer will be 0.12%. Okay, so you need to remember this value. Okay, second one, percentage of more cement that should be added while concreting underwater. Okay, so here the answer will be 10%. From IS Indian Standard Code, VB time for low workability, VB time for low workability as per Indian Standard. See, VB time का बहुत सारा ये लिमिट्स होता है, वैल्यूज होता है. तो टू टाइप्स ऑफ वैल्यूज, वन एक होता है 0 to 3 फॉर हाई वर्केबिलिटी, one is then 3 to 5 for medium workability, then 10 to 15 for low workability, and then 10 to 18 or 15 to 18 for very low workability. So here we can see the answer will be 10 to 15. Okay, actually the 5 to 10, this range is not given, but sometimes you will also find values like 2 to 5. So generally we assume this is high, this is medium, this is high, this is medium, this is low, this is very low. So because it is low workability, so 10 to 15 seconds will be the answer. So more the time for VB apparatus, more lower will be the workability. The fourth question is RCC column with spiral reinforcement. Okay, then the minimum number of longitudinal bars in contact with the spiral. For RCC column spiral reinforcement, minimum number of bars is 6. Again another question from IS 456, for two-way slab, the slab deflection is guided by shorter span. If all are given in Indian Standard Code, so you need to memorize this data, you need to remember this data for exam. Then another question, initial setting time for ordinary Portland cement, that should not be less than 30 minutes. Okay, again side face reinforcement from IS 456, this question have been asked. side face reinforcement should be provided for not the total depth. We will see here from S56 it is depth of wave should be greater than 750 mm. Okay, so depth of wave. So you can see that all the questions have directly been asked from IS 456, all this type of questions. Okay, so here now we will see what are those important provisions that we need to remember for exam points of view. Okay, so let's check. First, ordinary concrete. Ordinary concrete range is M10 to M20. Then standard concrete M25 to M55. Then high strength concrete M60 to M80. The question they will ask that what is the range of grade of concrete for high strength concrete as per IS 456. So it will be M60 to M80. Okay, so now here is a table: placing condition, degree of workability, SLAM value. Okay, so first, for shallow sections and pavement pavements, for concrete pavement, very low workability. So here SLAM value C 7.11. so here C, for very low category of workability, measurement of workability by determination of compacting factor test. Okay, so for very low workability we generally do not use SLAM cone, we use compacting factor test. That's why it has been given at compact workability by determination of compacting factor. Okay, very low workability. And SLAM values are generally used for medium to high workability concrete mix. Okay, then mass concrete and lightly reinforced section, low workability, SLAM value 25 to 75 mm. Okay, then medium workability. It is a heavily reinforced section or normal reinforced sections. Okay, this is 50 to 10 or 50 to 100 or 75 to 100. Okay, if you see my previous videos, I have mentioned the important applications there, and what are the SLAM values required, exactly what are the SLAM values required for trench fill and pump concrete, high to very high. For trench fill, high to very high. For high it is 100 to 150, very high for C 7.12. It has been said that for very high workability, flow table test should be used, workability by determination of flow. Okay, so for very low workability, SLAM cone is not used, we use compacting factor test. For very high workability, we use flow table test. Okay, so SLAM cone is generally used for medium to high workability, Okay, so these values we need to remember. Okay, now another one is age at loading and creep coefficient. Creep coefficient values you need to remember. Why? Sometimes they ask questions like what should be the long term modulus of elasticity, that is equal to short term modulus of elasticity by 1 plus theta. Short term modulus of elasticity of concrete is the tangent modulus or second modulus that we use for concrete, and long term means it includes the creep effect. Okay, so these are the values of theta. Okay, so question they will ask that what will be the value of long term modulus of elasticity after 1 year, so you need to remember the value 1.1. okay, easy calculation, but if you don't remember these values you will not be able to solve the questions. Okay, now these are the environment and exposure conditions, so you need to just read and remember what are the mild, moderate, severe and very severe and extreme condition. Mild means protected against weather or aggressive condition. Moderate means concrete exposed to condensation and rain, and concrete continuously under water, concrete in contact or buried under non-aggressive soil or groundwater. Okay, concrete surface sheltered from saturated air in coastal area, this is moderate. Now in severe environment, concrete surfaces exposed to severe rain, alternate wetting and drying. Okay, this is important, alternate wetting and drying. Concrete completely immersed in sea water and concrete exposed to coastal environment. This is for severe. And very severe, concrete surfaces exposed to seawater, corrosive fumes, okay, and concrete in contact with buried under aggressive soil condition. Okay, here it is under aggressive soil condition, okay. And then extreme surface of member in tidal zone, members in direct contact with liquid or solid aggressive chemicals, members in direct contact. Okay, so you need to study, or you need to make a short note for this. Okay, what are the conditions for mild, moderate, severe, very severe, and extreme? Okay, they ask questions like this. They suppose it's telling that the concrete surface is not exposed to aggressive environment, okay, but alternate wetting or drying, then it is severe, okay. And if it is protected from rain, it is mild, okay. So they will tell you the condition, and they will ask for the type of environment, okay. Now based on this exposure type, for plain concrete and reinforced concrete, main thing they ask is minimum cement content and minimum grade of concrete. So better if you remember this table. Remember this table, not very tough. 220, 240, 250, 260, 280, okay. And here 300, 320, 340, 360. So difference is 20 kg per meter cube. If the trick for remember, difference is 20, 220 to 40, then 240, 250, here is 10, 250 to 260, 260, 280. Here 300, 320, 340, 360, okay. And minimum grade of concrete they also ask, okay. So you need to remember this chart. Now this is the curve, okay. We all know that if that mean strength or target strength is equal to FCK plus 1.65 into sigma. Sigma is the assumed standard deviation. So the standard deviation values, sometimes they do not tell you the standard deviation values, and you need to remember for grade of concrete. For M10 and M15 it is 3.5, M20 and 25 it is 4, and rest of all it is 5, okay. So it is important to remember the standard deviation. Now this is another thing, type of formwork and minimum period before striking the formwork. For vertical formwork it is 16 to 24 hour, soffit formwork to slabs, props to be refixed immediately after removal of formwork. This is 3 days. Soffit formwork for beams 7 days, and props to slab, they ask this, props to slab, and these two are important, 7 day and 14 day depending upon the span. This is 14 and 21 days depending upon the span, okay. All of these are very important. Now this is effective flange width. They will ask numericals from here. They will give you L0 values, BW values, DF values, okay. So for T beam effective flange width, they ask you for effective flange width. This is for T beam, this is L beam, okay. And for isolated beams, these are continuous, okay. So for isolated beams, again there are different formulas, T beam and L beam, okay. So very important, these 4 formulas are very important. And what is L0? L0 is the distance between points of zero moments, okay, zero moments in the beam, okay. This is L0. And BF is the effective width of flange that we need to determine. BW is the width of web, BW, and DF is the thickness of flange. This is DF, thickness of flange. B is the actual flange width, okay. So for continuous beam and frame, L0 may be taken as 0.7 of the effective span, 0.7 of the L effective for continuous beams and frame. Okay, so these are important. Now generally sometimes they ask questions from bending moment coefficient. Okay, they will ask you they will ask you the bending moment coefficient for the for the conditions given. So just remember this table. Shear force coefficient is not that much important. This is very important. Okay, so for continuous beam, so this is the middle span, this is end span, this is end span. So this is end support, this is also end support. So based on this, a lot of coefficients are there. Okay, so coefficients will be multiplied. So for obtaining the bending moment, the coefficient shall be multiplied with the total design load. So suppose alpha is the coefficient, so it should be multiplied by total design load and effective span, L effective into alpha into W. That will give you the bending moment. Okay, so they ask questions from this. This is important. Shear force coefficient, this is also same. For obtaining shear force, coefficient should be multiplied by the total design load. So if beta is the coefficient, beta is into total design load, that is equal to shear force. Okay, so this table is important. Next, quantity of concrete in watt, number of samples. Okay, so if the quantity is 1 to 5 meter cube, number of samples samples 1, 6 to 15, number of samples 2, 16 to 30, number of samples 3, and 31 to 50, number of sample 4. Above 51, 4 plus additional sample for each additional 50 meter cube thereof. Okay, so after 50, number of samples will be 4 plus volume by 50 meter cube. Okay, for each additional 50 meter cube, at least one sample should be taken from each shift. Okay, now the vertical deflection limits may generally be assumed to be satisfied provided the span to depth ratio. So the basic value of span to effective depth, values for span less than equal to 10 meter. For span less than equal to 10 meter, here are the values. Cantilever simply supported for cantilever 7, simply supported 20, for continuous it is 26. Very important, very important. But they ask this for span above, for if A is greater than 10, then what will be the value? Then the values in A, so this is A, values in A should be multiplied by 10 by span. Okay, should be multiplied by 10 by span. Okay, values in A, so if values V, it is A into multiplied by 10 by span. Okay, except for cantilever, in which deflection calculation should be made. Now slenderness limit for beams to ensure lateral stability. They ask this value and this value. Okay, this is for simply supported or continuous beam, this is for cantilever beam. Okay, so 60B, so for simply supported or continuous beam, it shall be so proportion that the clear distance between the lateral restraint does not exceed 60B. Clear distance between the lateral support does not exceed 60B or 250B square by D, where B is the width, D is the effective depth. B is the width, D is the effective depth. Okay, this is for simply supported, this is for cantilever, 25B or 100B square by D. They ask this, very important. Now this is for beam. Now for slabs in two direction, the shorter of the two span should be used for calculating span to effective depth ratio. For two-way slab, for slew-way slabs, shorter span, if LS is the shorter span up to 3.5 meter with mild steel reinforcement. Span to, this is span to overall depth ratio. This was span to effective depth. This was span to overall depth ratio to satisfy vertical deflection limit of load up to 3 kN per meter square. So for simply supported this is 35, for continuous it is 40. Very important. For high strength deformed bars of grade 415, the values given above should be multiplied by 0.8. Okay. So next is slenderness limit for columns. Slenderness limit for columns. If in any given place one end of the column is unrestrained, its unsupported length L shall not exceed. Unsupported length L should not be greater than 100 b square by d, where b is the width of that section, d is the depth of the cross section measured in the plane under consideration. Okay. And the unsupported length between the restraints shall not exceed 60 times the, so two conditions, 60 times the least lateral dimension, b least, or 100 b square by d. Okay. Now minimum eccentricity, you know, design the column shall be designed for minimum eccentricity, E minimum, that should be equal to the L unsupported length of the column divided by 500 plus least lateral dimension, d least. This is the least lateral dimension. So b or d, anyone. If b is less than p, if d is less than d, divided by 30. This is the minimum eccentricity, where should be subjected to a minimum 20. It should be minimum 20 mm. So if it is less than 20, comes less than 20, suppose it is coming 16 mm, so we need to take E minimum equal to 20 mm. Okay, so minimum eccentricity is 20 mm. Now development length of bars. Development length of the bars, this is the formula, LD phi into sigma s by 4 tau d. Phi is the nominal diameter of the bar, sigma s is the stress in the bar at the section, and tau bd is the design bond stress. Okay, now this is important for deformed bars. This is for mild steel. For deformed bars, that should be increased. For deformed bars conforming to IS 1786, these values shall be increased by 60%. So tau bd value should be increased by 60%. That is, it should be multiplied by 1.6. For bars in compression, this is mild steel and in tension. For bars in compression, the values of bond stress should be increased by 25%. So tau bd should be multiplied by 1.25. So it is increased by 60%. It is increased by 25%. Okay. This is important. They ask questions like this. Now bends and hooks. Bends, the anchorage value of bend shall be taken 4 times the diameter of the bar, that is 4 into 5 for each 45 degree bend, subjected to a maximum of 16.5, that is equal to 180 degree. Okay, so this is 180 degree. Now the development length should not exceed m1 by v plus L0, where m1 is the bending moment, v is the shear force, and L0 is the sum of the anchorage beyond the center of the support and equivalent anchorage value of any hook or the mechanical anchorage at support. Okay, phi is the diameter of the bar. This is important. The value of m1 by v in above expression should be increased by 30% when ends of the reinforcement are confined by a compressive reaction. So it is increased by 30%. 30%. Okay. Now lap splices. It is very important. All of these provisions have been asked. So what are these? So lap splices shall not be used for bar larger than 36 mm, should not be used for phi greater than 36 mm. Okay, in cases where welding is not practicable, lapping of bars larger than 36 mm may be permitted, but generally we use welding for greater than 36 mm. Okay, we do not use lap splices there. Now lap splices shall be considered staggered. This is important. Not used greater for larger 36 mm. Lap splices should be staggered if center to center of the distance of the lap splices is not less than 1.3 times the lap length. Okay, so lap splices shall be considered staggered if the center to center distance of the lap splices is not less than 1.3 times the lap length. Okay. Now lap length. What are the lap length? Lap length for bars in flexural tension 35. Okay, so 35 LD or 35. Okay, for direct tension it is 2 LD or 35, and for 2 LD or 35, and for bars in compression it will be 24.5. Okay, so these are important. For flexural tension it is LD or 35, for direct tension 2 LD or 35, for compression it is 24.5. Okay, so when bars of two different diameters are to be spliced, the lap length shall be calculated on the basis of diameter of the smaller bar. Okay, in case of bundle of bars, lap splices of bundle bars shall be made by splicing one bar at a time. Okay, now the minimum distance between individual bars. Okay, now spacing of the bars. So this is lap splices. This is very important. Now spacing the horizontal distance between two parallel main reinforcement. Okay, you be not less than greatest of the following: the diameter of the bar, if the diameter is equal, if diameters of the larger bar, if the diameters are not equal, and 5 mm plus nominal dn is the nominal maximum size of the coarse particle plus 5 mm. Okay, so these are important, you need to remember this. Then where there are two or more rows of bars, the bars shall be vertically in line, and the minimum vertical distance between the bars shall be 15 mm. Okay, or 2/3 of the diameter, 2/3 of the nominal, the maximum size of the aggregate. Okay, or the maximum size of the bar, whichever is greater. So one is 15 mm, 2/3 of the nominal size, and 5 larger. So maximum of this should be used. Okay, now nominal cover to meet durability requirement. So for mild steel, for mild exposure condition this is 20 mm, for moderate 30, for severe it is 45, very severe it is 50, and extreme it is 75 mm. Okay, to meet the durability requirement, this is nominal cover. Okay, now next one is the maximum spacing of shear reinforcement. Maximum spacing of shear reinforcement measured along the axis of the member shall not exceed, should not be greater than 0.75 d or 300 mm, or 300 mm. For this is for vertical stirrup. Okay, and for 45 degree stirrup, this is d or 300 mm. Okay, so it should not exceed this. So minimum of this should be taken. This is for vertical stirrup, this is for inclined stirrup, that is inclined at 45 degree. Okay, in no case the spacing shall exceed 300 mm. Okay, now the minimum reinforcement in slab. So 0.15% for mild steel and 0.12% for HYSD bar. I have in the first in the question, in previous year's questions, I have shown that these questions have been asked directly. So that is 0.15% for mild steel and 0.12% for HYSD bar. So let's see the question again. So this was the question, the percentage of HYSD bar in one-way slab to cater the shrinkage and temperatures. This is for minimum reinforcement and this is 0.12% because it is HYSD bars. Okay. Now the maximum diameter, the diameter of the reinforcement bars shall not exceed 1/8 for slab. The diameter of the reinforcement bar shall not exceed the 1/8 of the total thickness of the slab. DO, suppose D, this is the slab, this is DO, the overall thickness of the slab divided by 8. That is the maximum diameter of the slab. Okay. Now minimum shear reinforcement, in the form of stirrup. So this formula you need to remember to determine the value of ASP, that is the stirrup spacing along the length of the member, ASP. Okay, ASP. So stirrup diameter will be given, so from that you can determine ASP, and FY you know. Okay, now AST is the minimum area of tension reinforcement. To determine the minimum area of tension reinforcement, you just use this formula, AST by BD is equal to 0.85 by FY. Okay, so you know B is the weight, D is the effective depth, and F is the characteristic strength. Okay, now compression reinforcement. For compression reinforcement, the maximum area of compression reinforcement shall not exceed area of compression reinforcement. Shall not be shall not exceed 0.04 into BD. Here 0.04 into B into D. See, B is the width, D is the total depth, not the effective depth. Okay, D is the total depth, but here D is the effective depth. Okay. Now side face reinforcement. Where the depth of the web in a beam exceeds 750 mm, the side face reinforcement shall be provided along the two faces. Okay, the depth of, again see the question that I have shown. See, the side face reinforcement in a concrete beam shall be provided, not total depth of web. If depth of web greater than 750 mm, then only we provide side face reinforcement. So where the depth of web beam exceeds 750 mm, side face reinforcement shall be provided along the faces. The total area of side face reinforcement shall not be less than 0.1% of the web area and shall be distributed equally on two faces of the beam. And spacing should not exceed 300 mm or web thickness, whichever is less. Okay. Now column. Now comes to the column. Longitudinal reinforcement. Minimum longitudinal reinforcement is 0.85% and maximum is 6% of the gross area of the column section. Okay. Now second, in any column that has a larger cross sectional area that required to support the load, the minimum percentage of steel should be based upon the area of concrete required to resist the direct stress and not upon the actual area. Okay. Minimum percentage of steel required. Okay. Now third one is the minimum number of longitudinal bars provided column shall 4 for rectangular column 4, and for circular column it is 6. It is 6. The bar's diameter shall not be less than 12 mm. A reinforced concrete column having helical reinforcement shall have at least 6 bar. Okay, so this is again, this question also have been asked in exam. So see, this is helical. In RCC column having spiral reinforcement of helical reinforcement, the maximum number of longitudinal bars. So answer will be 6. Okay, so you can see directly from codes the questions are coming. Okay, directly from code. So this is for helical reinforcement 6 for helical reinforcement. 6 minimum 6. Okay, now the pitch and diameter of the lateral tie. Pitch of the transverse reinforcement shall be not more than least of the distance. Okay. So the least lateral dimension, suppose B by D is the column, so minimum of this least of the lateral dimension. 16 times the smallest diameter of the longitudinal reinforcement and 300 mm. Okay, not more than least, so minimum of this should be the pitch. Okay, minimum of this should be the pitch. The diameter of lateral tie shall not be less than 5, shall not be less than one fourth of the diameter of the largest longitudinal bar. So this is phi long max, and this was 16 times the smallest diameter of the longitudinal reinforcement, phi L minimum. In no case should be less than 16 mm. In no case less than 16 mm. So the diameter should be phi should be maximum of these two. Okay, maximum of these two, that should be taken, and this is the pitch should be minimum of these three. Okay, so these are the codal provisions. Okay, so directly codal provisions are asking, and you need to remember at least these things for exam points of view. Okay, so let's end our discussion here. If you enjoyed the video, just share it among your friends. Okay, and we will be back again with our new videos. So till then, have a nice day. Goodbye.